Hey, Worldy Boys, Wild Men, whatever you want to be called. It's Matikos One from Austria. Ganz liebe Grüße aus Österreich, der Wilderness-Podcast für immer. And by the way, that doesn't mean anything bad. I was just saying thank you from Austria. Love you guys.
Welcome to episode 203 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and as always is Mr. Heartless. How is it going?
Great, Dills. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I started a new job on Monday, which is really exciting. It's always kind of strange. I forgot the feeling of going in. It's like being the new kid in school or something. You have to like meet. It's always like this. It's like a strange week where you're like learning, you're meeting all these new people and you have to like keep track of everything. And it made me like think, because you've mentioned like you're a teacher, right?
Yes.
I believe you mentioned you used to do subbing at some point.
Yeah, I did for quite a while.
Did you go to a bunch of different schools, or was it always just one school?
I tended to stick to a few that knew me very well because that's where I'd get the most work. They kept calling. But yeah, I would go to random places and random schools all the time.
Was that like a strange feeling of like walking in and you're just like all these people you don't know?
It's deeply stressful. Like the schools are also so big, and there are a lot of employees, and there's a lot of space, and there's a lot of just with all the kids, there's just so many bodies moving around. You can go relatively unnoticed. So it is a strange feeling. And then, yeah, it's rather stressful going to a new school and like trying to figure out the systems because each one is so different. So, yeah, it's almost like starting a new job every time.
Yeah, that's gotta be weird, especially with the dynamic of being a teacher and having to deal with like a new class of kids, and even like the being a new sub. Like I remember, like there were some subs that would just get like tormented. Did you deal with that like on your first day in a new class of having to deal with like these new students that are like testing?
Oh, they always they're always pushing your boundaries any age. Even like kindergarten, they know, maybe not so much kindergarten, but like grade 2 and up, they'll just push your boundaries because they know the rules of the class and you don't, so they can get away with more things. It just gets a little bit, not more malicious, but maybe they just push a little harder as they get older. But I don't know. I just kind of take it easy. I don't, not like going to go in there and like yell at them or trying to whip them into shape. My usual thing is like, we'll have a good time, but I just want to survive. that's basically,
you want to get through the day.
Yeah. And if when I know the kids a little bit better, then it's quite a lot easier. But if it's a new school and like a new class that I don't know, it's like my only goal for today is to survive.
Fair enough. That's fair. Yeah, because it's like when I look back on it as being like a student, you know, I'm not a teacher, but being a student, it was like you look back and like there feels like there's a right way and the wrong way of doing it, because there were some teachers that just like I feel like they got tormented to a level that like you kind of look back on, you like feel bad, like man, kids are evil. Whereas like some subs, they don't have to deal with that level of torment.
Yeah, I'm not fully sure I figured it out, but at least the places where I used to go quite often, I enjoyed being a sub when I knew the kids decently well.
Yeah, some subs are like you would know the sub and people would like celebrate because they know that they're like, this is an awesome, it's exciting. This is the sub we've had before, and it's like an awesome sub. Mm-hmm. I remember like getting excited when it's like, oh, this person's subbing today, and you're like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, you just stoked because you know they're easygoing or whatever. I feel like that's me.
Yeah,
for the most part at the schools that I've been to. But yeah, on the first day of the new school, dude, it's like your new job. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's a bizarre feeling. Just meeting all these people and trying to figure out the dynamic and like relationships, like the interpersonal relationships where yeah, you just got to feel these things out. It's not super easy to. Anyways, so that's been my week, but it's been good. Starting a new job is usually a good thing, right? Unless you usually it's anyways. So it's been a fun week. That being said, not a whole lot of RuneScape, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We do have a bunch of things to talk about. This has been a wild week. So in terms of news, we had the big one, Guardians of the Rift. This new minigame activity came out. Spoiler alert, people love it. People seem to be really enjoying it. And on top of that, this is also like pretty big news. We got like account updates. It's this new account system they're going to be bringing into the game. And they are actually partnering. This is insane. They're actually partnering up with RuneLite. Like if we had this conversation like 3 years ago when they were trying to ban RuneLite, you'd be like, what? They're officially partnering? So this is going to be quite interesting when that takes place. Now, on the more controversial side of things, Jagex wants more money from us. There is a price increase coming to membership this year. So that's going to be happening. But not quite in-game related. We are also going to be getting a RuneScape board game, which is being produced by a company called Steamforged. But it's a RuneScape board game, which, I love board games and I love RuneScape. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And we have a March Gazette to talk about, which is kind of like their month in review, not month in review, but at the end of every month or at some time during a month, they say, here's a bunch of stuff we're working on. And here's just a blog of like from the developers of what's going on. So that's always exciting to look at. But that is not all. That makes it a big week. Jagex did this thing called the Old School RuneScape Game Jam, which game jams happen all the time in the gaming industry. I've got some friends who work in sound design, and when you're like sound design in video games, and when you're kind of trying to get into the industry, you do a lot of these game jams, which basically you just go and you group up with different people and you try to create a game in like a couple of days, or maybe you have a week to put this game together. And you might have some ideas, but really there's nothing put together, but you team up with different developers and maybe artists. And at the end of the week, you kind of see what games you can put together. It's usually not, you're usually not bringing out like a full on, like Stardew Valley isn't created at the end of the week, but you have like some sort of concept that if people seem to like it, or maybe sometimes there's like awards that are given out to the best game that was created in that week, then it sometimes goes on and becomes this full-fledged game. So Old School RuneScape did something similar, and they called this the Game Jams, where a bunch of devs were able to spend all week partnering up with different devs and coming up with some of their own little ideas to see what the community likes. And they had a week to kind of, be as creative as possible. They used to do this thing. It wasn't quite a week to work on it. It was, they had to change the name of it, but
Fap Time.
Fap Time. That's right. There was, we have been told through other JMods that every Friday it was like the Friday afternoon project. It was called something like that, where the latter half of the Friday, they were able to just work on any ideas that they had. And they usually did it like solo, and then they would pitch it. And if the community liked it, sometimes it came into the game. And
I don't know about you, but Friday afternoons are cruise control for me. And even more so when I was working a desk job, I wouldn't do anything Friday afternoon. And I feel like a lot of people out there are the same way. So I don't understand, especially on a solo project. Like when you have to collaborate with other people, then certainly you're going to put more effort into it. But when it's just by yourself on a Friday afternoon, feels like you maybe get one or two ideas on the paper and then you call it a day.
Yeah, you might be just burnt out and you're just like, I got writer's block. Let's just chill. I'm not sure why they ended up scrapping it. That might have been part of the reason. And by the way, they called it Tap Time. They called it Tap Time, and they labeled it as Thursdays because they realized Fap Time didn't sound great on paper.
Friday afternoon play.
So anyways, we got the Game Jam instead. So we got some stuff that we're going to talk about there. Some pretty cool ideas. We're kind of popping up all over Twitter and on the subreddit. So yeah, some fun stuff there. But anyways, as I mentioned, I kind of went through what my week has been about. How about you? What have you been up to?
Oh my God, Dils. I played a lot of RuneScape last week because it was bingo.
Right, that's bingo. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I know the last episode was a little, we've been a little bit behind with episodes, and content has been coming out at a rather alarming pace, which is quite nice to see. It's a nice change of pace. anyways, bingo came and went. Huge congratulations to the Berthopa Booty Bandits, Team 1.
Great name.
Who
great name.
managed to pull out the win. Special shout out to Brian, who just absolutely slaughtered the tiles.
Oh,
He got
you're
himself like, what was it? An Inquisitor's Mace.
Kodai on like day one, I think.
Solo Kodai. It's just a bunch of like ridiculous tiles all by himself. Hydro Claw and like 50 KC. Yeah, the man really swept up, and his team ended up reaping the rewards.
Nice.
So congratulations to Team 1. I was on Team 3, the Grand Tree Huggers.
Grand Tree Huggers.
Yeah, a huge shout out to my team. We spent degenerate amount of hours in the voice chat up until like disgustingly late hours, grinding whatever the tiles were. We had a really good time. We ended up coming second. But for me, it's not really about winning or losing. It's just about, having fun with my friends, and it was an absolute blast. Got to meet some new people, and yeah, it was great. So on the Friday night, which was the first night, I tend to get quite drunk, and many of us did in the voice chat. But anyways, I had a few drinks, and I thought, hey, why don't I just send a solo CM and the boys can watch me, because there must have been a dozen of us in there. And I did it. And then God of Thunder and my team starts screaming because
okay.
because something. He's like, "Oh my God, Heartless, you just got the pet." And I said, "What?" And I turn around and I open the chat box, and I'd gotten the a dupe omelet.
Oh,
which
wow.
means
okay,
I
yep.
had a purple in the chest. So now everyone was super stoked, and we ran up, and I ended up getting a Dex, which was a tile. So I mean,
oh, not bad.
Can't complain. I can't believe I finished the raid. I was there's a few in at that point.
I can't really play RuneScape when I'm intoxicated, because it's like everything that I can normally do, I just can't do now, and I find it so frustrating.
Yeah, well, I managed to do it. I was a little bit slower than normal, but I did make time on the CM, so we're
nice.
all good. Anyways, we grinded for the rest of the week. It was fun. I then got the Nightmare tile done for my team. I got my first unique at Nightmare. I have not got the tablet yet, which is 1 in 100. I got Little Nightmare, the pet.
Oh, wow. What KC?
Like 102 or something.
Jeez.
Just super low.
That's a cool pet too.
Insane. So that was nice. Yeah, our team ended up doing 2,000 Hydra or something like that.
Wow.
We never got the claw, but we did have a good time. So huge shout out for bingo, and can't wait till the next one in August.
Yeah, that's true. And shout out to the other two teams you mentioned but there's also Guardians of Your Mom and For Fuck's Sake.
Guardians of Your Mom's Rift. Let's get that one right.
Oh, Your Mom's Rift. You're right. Sorry, it cut off there.
And then for fuck's sakes. Yeah, they had a good time as well and grinded. But at the end of the day, bingo is just a little bit of RNG. So sometimes at the end, like, teams can just smash it, or you just get unlucky for the week. That's just the way it goes.
Yep.
As long as everyone has fun, that's the main goal. So yeah, bingo was finished on the Friday, the last day of bingo. Our team had done all the AFK stuff, and I was just waking up, so I decided I'd send some Guardians of the Rift. And I only got 1 point in the game because I was eating breakfast, and I went to check the rewards, and I got the pet.
Oh my God, you got the pet there! Holy shit!
So that's my third pet of the week.
Jeez, have we been gone for like 6 months? What the fuck happened?
No, we have not. So that was my third pet of the week. It's pretty sweet. And then bingo ended the night after bingo. Dills, I've just been raking in the drops recently.
Oh my God, it keeps going, doesn't it?
The night after bingo, it's going to get more exciting. I decided to go to the Rev Caves because I couldn't sleep because I'd been DJing all week. So I was like, I'm just going to stay up.
You got the Rev pet, didn't you?
I got the Rev pet. No. I was killing the orcs because, I don't know, for some reason I just had a funny feeling the orcs just love me.
Yeah, okay.
They've dropped all the good items have come from me killing orcs, and I haven't killed that many of them. So I was down there slaving away. It was my second trip, and I got a Vigorous chain mace, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 in 24,000 drops.
Jesus Christ. That's wow.
So that's a huge upgrade because I have the scepter as well, which I'm going to talk about later with the game jam and the update that they're certainly going to buff it. But the mace is really, really strong. Not as good as the crossbow, but obviously it's a great weapon. So
yeah,
I'm really, really excited to have that.
Wow.
And then what? Okay, I got one more deals. One more for you.
Oh my goodness.
And then this week, I took a little break because I was working, obviously back to work, and it was really quite busy. I had parent-teacher night and stuff like that.
Oh boy, nice.
In the last few nights, I found some guys that are really interested in sending necks. So I've decided, whenever they're on, I'm just going to go to Next as much as possible because it's apparently 15 mil an hour, which is sweet.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty insane money. They changed the drop rates, reverted them. I'm sure we'll talk about this, but they're no longer 1 in 53. It's back to 1 in 43. So for me, it's even more reasonable to get items. And I got my first Next unique as well the other day.
Oh, no kidding. Which one?
The pet.
Oh my God.
I know.
What was that? 4 pets? 5 pets? I lost count, including the omelet.
4, yeah. If you 3 plus the dupe omelet. So
holy shit.
Yeah, dude, my account pet luck is just cracked. I think I have 16 now.
Jeez, that's sweet.
Yeah, just super lucky. I tend to get the pet first, like the first drop. I don't know why.
Yeah, it feels weird.
Just the way it goes. I'm just there for the items, and I just happen to get the pet as the first drop.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to complain. Pets are sweet.
That's
For
crazy.
sure, but it's just crazy that they roll in, man. Holy. So yeah, bingo brings the pets. I think there were 18 pets in bingo drop this time.
There's a lot. Every day there was like 2 or 3.
I think there were about 60 participants and 18 pets. So like 1 in 3 people got a pet.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild time. So anyways, there's Pet Spoon over here. But Next has been a lot more fun being able to see the items a bit more frequently.
Yeah,
so
that's always nice.
Saw there was a Torva plate body and some fan braces the other night. So
wow,
the money will flow.
The money will flow.
But anyways, that's me. Just that. Nothing special. Dills, it was a crazy week, man.
Yeah, that is hectic.
Well, that was like 3 weeks of information because I feel like it's been quite a while since we've recorded.
Yeah, it's been, again, the job switch over. Now, people listening to the future are going to be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? It makes no difference. But when I was like leaving my old job, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get my 2 weeks. I can kick my feet up. I can relax. But then I'm the only one in my position at the job. And I had to do a lot of training. And anyway, it was busier than it normally was. So,
damn.
Yeah, that happened.
Well, hopefully the new job is more chill. So.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. I'm very happy to be there. But yeah, I got nothing to mention on RuneScape. I know I already said that, but that's going to be my segue because instead of talking about more RuneScape, instead of jumping right into the news, let's jump into the Game Jam updates because we've seen. I have a little table here of about 5. It's kind of 4, but. Anyways, let's start off small, but also probably the best. And it's on the topic of pets. So first off, I want to apologize. I know a lot of JMods listen to this podcast. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I don't think anyone listens to this podcast. But if I miss out some of the JMods who are working on some of these Game Jam ideas, my apologies because I'm going off Twitter and it's not super accurate with everyone who's involved. Anyways, that being said, the first one is coming from Oasis and Skylark, and it is the question everyone's always asking, why the hell don't we have any dog pets in the game? I guess we kind of do. We actually do have dog pets. We have the Hell Puppy and we have the Bloodhound, but we don't got any like dog pets like we do with cats. That's just strictly a dog. So they came up with a whole bunch of models of a ton of different types of dogs as pets, and they kind of showed them what they would look like in the game. And of course, they look awesome. Best pets in the game. Yeah, it's what people are always asking about is when are we going to get a quest where we can adopt the stray dog in Varrock, right? And that's coming. That's going to be part of a Grandmaster quest. I think we all kind of can feel that. It's going to be like the Siege of Varrock or some sort of like Dragon Slayer 3 is going to come out and part of the reward is getting this dog as a pet. And that'll be like one of the best rewards from any quest.
100%. Yeah.
Like if anyone doesn't know, there's a stray dog. Everyone knows this. There's a stray dog in Varrock though, that kind of follows you around and you can pet it and you can also shoot away, which makes it like bark and run away, which is
he's a bit of a stinky boy. He's got the flies surrounding him.
Yeah, a little bit of mange, a little patchy.
Some mange for sure.
Yeah, but the time's coming where we're gonna be able to adopt it. But anyway, some dog pets coming out there. Next, we'll start from smallest to biggest, I guess. Next, Mod Ed, which is one of the J mods behind many of our favorite quests in the game. He tends to write some really great epic stories when it comes to like Dragon Slayer 2 and Song of the Elves and all that sort of stuff. But he's been pitching these like very cryptic, what looks like clue scroll messages. And then he came out and said, the Garden of Death will be a new Twisted Tale set in Southern Cabos. Twisted Tale being some sort of shorts contained story that has to do with the world of Zaya or the continent of Zaya. And it's all about deciphering a bunch of clues and finding and learning about an ancient language. And you just might uncover the fate of a long forgotten race. What does this mean? I don't know what this means. But next, let's talk about some of the big stuff. So we have two major ones that we are to talk about. Should we talk about what should we do? Should we talk about the Inferno style PVM minigame?
Yeah,
thing?
let's do that. Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, we can start with that one. So this one's from Mod Husky, along with Elena, Arcane, Rye, and Halo, and possibly a few others. But this is going to be, you can compare it to like the Fight Caves or the Inferno, which is going to be a wave-based PVM activity. They call it a minigame. But sometimes minigame sounds weird because it's nothing like Castle Wars, like those sort of activities.
Inferno is just a minigame. Technically, like Jad is on the minigame teleport and stuff. So
yeah, true. And Barrows is a minigame. A little confusing what a minigame actually is. But anywho, I guess it's just like an activity. But this is going to be called the Tassikal Trials. And the Tassikal, if you've ever been to the Cabos Lowlands, you went into the dungeon, you'll have seen these big blue-looking rock dudes that kind of look like the Tazar, and they're just kind of sitting in these giant thrones. This is going to be a wave-based activity that has to do with the Tassikal. So the idea is that a lot of the problem with the Fight Caves, the problem with the Inferno, it's very long. The Inferno especially. I think you mentioned you're spending at least 2 hours per run when you were doing it.
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a long time. People don't always have 2 hours to dump strictly into one piece of content, especially if you're not going to complete it. So this is going to be much quicker. It's not going to be as much of an endurance test, but it'll still be very much based on skill. It'll have 12 waves instead of the 60 or whatever that come with both the Fight Caves and the Inferno. It'll be split into 3 sections, and you will have a boss at wave 4, 8, and 12. So the first boss will be basically directed at players who have beat the Fire Cape. The second boss will be directed at players who can't quite beat the Inferno, but maybe they can do like raiding. They can do Fasani's Nightmare. They can do a whole lot of other content, but they're not quite at the Inferno yet. And then the final boss at wave 12 will be aimed at players who have obtained an Inferno Cape already. And what makes this interesting is after every single wave, you'll have an option at either one, buffing the rest of the monsters in this Tassikal trial, or adding a debuff to yourself. So you'll have to make a choice after every single wave. But when you do defeat a boss, you will get some sort of buff to yourself, which seems quite interesting. Every wave you complete will add to this like pool of loot you're going to receive. And when you die, you receive all that loot. But the farther you make it, of course, the more loot you're going to get. And basically, with stuff like this, it's always nicer when you can add some sort of unique that is actually useful. So they've mentioned a few ideas here. So an untradeable best in slot item, which upgrades after beating each one of the bosses. A tradable best in slot item, which is obtained as a rare drop just from random RNG through that loot system that we were talking about. A potential consumable, maybe, or just a potential item that provides more consistent money and is used for something, which is very vague. And then finally, a pet of the boss on wave 12. So I think it could be, of course, the pet's going to be included. I think that's pretty much a given, but it could have any other of those ideas, or it might be, but these are just like some pitches. It might not even have, the item might not have anything to do with these ideas here.
Yeah, what do you think it could be?
Oh, I don't know. It's tough. You know, I wonder if like we could get a new cape, because I mean, fight caves and cape, it's kind of go hand in hand. But again, though, you got to be careful. Like, what if we could get some sort of hybrid cape? Some cape that was like not best in slot in any single. It's like the Barrows gloves of the capes,
like
where
the
it's like
brimstone ring of capes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's even better. Where like might be good to bring in some areas, but
I feel like they could upgrade the mage cape pretty harmlessly as well.
Yeah.
Just add like a percentage or two to get a max hit, because we already like mage is a little bit weak, so that could be cool. Like an upgraded, like an Inferno style mage cape. Like Mage Arena 2 is pretty easy to complete.
Yeah.
So maybe like retiring the Mage Arena 2 cape, and that becomes like the fire cape of mage, and then you have this like super sick mage cape that like takes a lot of skill to get, but gives like a minimal increase in DPS, kind of like the Inferno does over the fire cape.
And what RuneScape 3, because the RuneScape 3 has Zuck now. It has their own Inferno. It's a little bit different, but the way RuneScape 3 does it is when you complete it, you get like this crystal, which you then imbue it, and you have to beat it 3 times, and it now gives you an upgrade to both every single cape. So the range cape, the mage cape, and the melee cape gets upgraded to the now best in slot with these crystals. So you have to beat it 3 times. I don't know if that's. I don't think that would be the move.
I think we would want something visual, so like it's very clear that you've completed this difficult task. Because that's like part of the Inferno is like the clout that comes with it for like having beat the content yourself.
Yeah, you want it to look pretty cool.
Like it's kind of an accomplishment and like a bit of a flex. And that's one of the big reasons that people like the cape. Is obviously best in slot, but the upgrade is not that massive compared to like the feeling of accomplishment that you get.
Yeah, totally.
And how difficult it is to get. It's more like, yeah, damn, this guy can do this person can do the Inferno. That they must be a gamer. That's like part of the thing that comes with the Inferno cape.
No, and I think that's awesome. That's
So yeah, I feel like an upgrade to like maybe like, but it doesn't need to be huge, but just like a small visual upgrade to something like Mage Arena cape or whatever. Kind of running out of melee untradables to upgrade.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like a mage cape would be too soon, because it does feel like Mage Arena. I don't know, what was that? It's still been like, I guess it's been 5 years, but we move a lot slower in old school RuneScape. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. You want it to definitely feel good. You want to bring it places. You don't want it to like not really fit anywhere either. It's tricky. Now, one thing that I do really like about this, and they kind of showed a picture again. These are all on Twitter, on the old school RuneScape. The old school RuneScape Twitter account has been sharing all of these, but they show you what the wave complete screen would look like. If you've played RuneScape 3, I don't really play RuneScape 3, but I do like to look at what they have, because they do some cool things. They do have some cool ideas, and often we do kind of steal some of their cool ideas. But they have a boss called, I think it's pronounced Talos. Telos, whatever, but it's this giant solo boss, and the way it works is when you kill it, it then respawns and it becomes enraged, like by a percentage. It becomes even stronger, and the whole idea is how many times can you kill it. Every time you kill it, your pool of loot increases, and if you want a unique, of course, the more you kill it, the chance of you receiving this new unique compounds. So it's like, if you want to get the unique faster, you kill them as much as you can in one sitting. But if you die, you'll lose everything. And it looks like this is going to be similar. So it's like you keep doing the waves, but the idea is you want to drop out of the wave that you don't think you can complete if you want the loot. Because if you die in the wave, you lose all the loot. So it shows you here, like you can level down yourself. So your maximum health is decreased by 30%. Or you can buff the enemies with monsters get lucky accuracy. And then there's another one that's called Immortal Wraith. And it says an Immortal Wraith will follow you in the arena. Don't quite know what that means, but
yeah, I see something like that happening pretty directly.
Yeah, it looks cool. So I would love something like this brought into the game, even if it's something that's like endless waves, or like you can I don't know. I love the idea with RuneScape 3.
This seems farmable because there's a tradable drop and there's going to be loot from it. Whereas the Inferno is not really farmable unless you're selling. And there's no reason to go back in once you have your cape. Maybe if you want the pet. But realistically, unless you're selling capes, you're not really farming Inferno.
Yeah, was it Tokel is not probably worth it.
Exactly. But if there's going to be like a tradable, high quality item available from completing these waves, plus loot, plus a boss pet, like, this is going to be farmable by the best players. And that's going to be interesting for a lot of people. So
yeah, it looks cool. So I definitely like this idea.
I also like that the loot, like you can get the loot from lower waves. You don't have to complete the hardest thing to get the drops. Like you could get luckier on the lower waves. So you don't have to be the best player to get that tradable drop, only to complete like the whatever the untradable is.
Yeah, totally. So I think it's a cool idea. I hope that the one thing that I love the idea of having 3 different bosses, and the bosses obviously being much harder than, it's almost like you're in an arena, even though Inferno you're also in an arena. But I think the waves get kind of old, where you're just like killing these waves, and they're not hard. They take time, and you're just like, gotta get through these waves to get to that big wave that's coming up at wave 4 or whatever it is. Anyways, does look pretty cool. I love the idea of having like a system where it's like, do you want to cash out now, or do you want to try to kill the next wave or kill the next version of the boss to get more loot? So I do hope we see something like that at some point either way.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Overall, thumbs up. What do you think?
Yeah, overall, I like this idea, and I hope it comes out.
Nice. All right, we'll move on to the next one. This one is, let's just get into it. This is what everyone loves to hear: a wilderness extension, adding more to the wilderness. It is, you hate it, you love it. People feel strongly about this part of the game. But I know that you and I are both big fans of the wilderness as it is. Obviously, there's understandable criticisms, but whatever. We'll get into it. This is going to be a new extension into the game. Now, it's not, of course, this is not fully coming into the game. This is just an idea, gauging what the community thinks. If people hate it, they're probably not even going to work on creating this, because that's a waste of time. But they put some feelers out, see what people see. But this is pretty big. So this is a whole new area into the wilderness that will extend past where the mage arena actually is. So the first thing of note is you cross one bridge. And when you cross this bridge, wilderness levels don't matter anymore. It will be a level 3 could fight a level 126. So it's going to be like a full free-for-all PvP area. Again, just ideas. We could see any part of this come to the game, but not all of it at the same time. With this, we'll be seeing a new city called Skalavek, which is a safe area. But the idea is that there's a bunch of Fremeniks who left the area of Relica, sailed north of the wilderness, and ended up coming into this area. And they act almost like a more civilized bandit camp within the wilderness itself. From this new city, they will have a new quest, the first PKing quest. That's not a great way to call it, a PKing quest. But the idea is it's supposed to kind of, in a way, introduce you to PKing, and it'll be the first quest that actually has you pretty much going to the wilderness. I think most of them, there might be one quest where you talk to the Zamorak mage, but I think generally speaking, you don't go to the wilderness for any quest.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this one would bring you into the actual wilderness.
Do you go there for like one of the Dragon Slayers? Maybe I can't remember. Maybe not. I thought there was something to do with the lava maze for one of the quests, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. No. Anyways, the quest is an interesting idea to get people introduced to.
Yeah, you will have to grab a few items from the wilderness and bring them to this guy, and then of course there'll be non-wilderness stuff. You'll have to go to Lunar Isles and all these other places to teach him about these different styles of magic. And the quest will end when you fight they call it a PKer, but really it's an NPC who will just fight you, probably tri-Briting, and you will have to fight 3 versions of it. And once you beat it, you will complete the quest. It's supposed to kind of give you an idea of maybe what to expect when you're PvPing. But yeah.
It's interesting. I like the idea.
It is interesting. I think obviously people are going to feel strongly one way or the other, but we don't have any quests that have to do with the wilderness, and I think that could be quite interesting if done right.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to force people to interact with the wilderness in a place where they're going to just get slaughtered and PK'd and lose a lot of stuff. So I feel like if there is interaction with the wilderness, it's okay, but people should be able to just bring nothing. So if they do die, then they don't waste. Or it's in like a safe zone. I don't feel good about forcing people to interact with the wilderness. It should be a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have, I think rather than forcing people to do it, you should have incentives to go to the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
But not forcing. So this is like they're on the right track. I don't know if it's like exactly the perfect idea, but the whole area looks really, really interesting with this whole. I love the idea of a city being at the top.
Yeah,
and, maybe having some skilling stuff in there too. It seems really cool.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit of a resource area, and it would be like a hub for this new PvP area, which would have no combat brackets basically. But there's more than just that quest. There is going to be there could be this idea of called an artifact escort, where you'll have an NPC who is looking for different artifacts around the wilderness, and you'll have to go collect it and bring it back to him. You'll have to bring certain artifacts, but you'll have to deliver artifacts to different NPCs, and there'll be, I guess, a few, and you'll get randomly assigned to go bring it to them. When you die, the artifact would drop on death, but once you complete it, you'll have a reward from the requested NPC. So one of the unique rewards that could come from this would be called a small safe pouch, which would be quite similar to a looting bag, which, if you don't know, a looting bag can only be used in the wilderness, and you can store items into this looting bag, but you can't pull it out. So if you're out there killing green dragons, you can bring your looting bag with you. You can store another 28 dragon bones and green dragon hide in this looting bag to kind of double up your inventory. But if you put food or something in there, you can't pull out the food to eat it. So this small safe pouch will work very similar, but the difference is if you die, you won't actually lose the items in this safe pouch, where when you die with the looting bag, you do lose those items. So there will be different sizes that can hold 2, 4, and 6 safe items. It
feels like a lot of items.
Could be, yeah. It's a cool idea. I wonder, like, I was trying to think, like, if you just unlock the safe pouch and you died, and you could just constantly put stuff in there, might be rough. But maybe if you died and your safe pouch degraded to a smaller bag, and this way you'd have to upgrade it again or something. But
I do like the idea of an upgrade to the looting bag itself.
It's a cool idea. This way, PVMers or skillers, they could bring this with them, and if they get some good loot, they could store it in there. Of course,
Ultimate Iron Man in shambles.
Yeah,
what is kidding. UIM integrity at this point?
it's yeah. Who knows? Who even plays an Ultimate Iron Man? That's the good question.
Dead game mode. I'm not even going to get into what they think about it because it's none of my business. But yeah, this is an interesting update. I think whatever they do with the wilderness, if they do an expansion like this, it needs to be reminiscent of Fossil Island in a way where all of the content is good and useful for certain account builds, and all of the activities are interesting and rewarding to complete. Because if they don't jam pack it with content, then the wilderness is just going to be even further diluted. And it already is tough to go out there and find. If you're a PK, it's tough to find fights. Honestly, if you're a PVMer, don't really run into that many PKers. It's fairly unlikely that you're going to doing a clue scroll or something like that. I've done over 400 hard clues. I've only died once to a PKer, and it's because I tellied into the lava maze. Besides that, I don't think I've ever even seen anyone doing a clue scroll, and I do a shit ton of them. So I would be worried about the wilderness being diluted, which is why I think they would need to really jam pack this with good things.
Yeah.
Which would bring PKers, which would then, but the thing should be so rewarding that even if you get PK'd, it's still worth going, and that other PKers will come and fight each other, etc.
Yeah, it happens all the time. If PvPers see another PvPer, I would say like 9 times out of 10, they will fight each other and they'll ignore you because they know the PvP will have more loot. Now, that being said, I agree this could dilute the wilderness a little bit more. And it's a tough balance because the content needs to be good enough that it brings people in. But if it's too good, you'll have people crying that they feel compelled to actually go to the wilderness to do this. And then they'll complain like they feel like they're being forced. So it's a tough balance where it needs to be good, but not too good.
Yeah, like I think typically what you want is like quick cash. You don't want like the best in slot methods to be in the wilderness for skilling or like even collecting resources that can be pretty brutal. But you do want like quick cash gabs, stuff like the rev capes where they drop a lot of items that are worth a lot of high elk value. So it's like really, really good money per hour, but it comes with incredible risk.
Yeah, totally. But this is not all. We got 3 possible bosses that could come. The first one is called Volku, which will be a red dragon boss that you can kill on a red dragon task. The hopes would be for this to be a higher gold per hour than Vorkath, and it will be in multi-combat, so that 1, you could kill it with other people, and 2, if PvPers show up, scatter and run because you guys will be vulnerable. And then some possible uniques that could come with this could be a possible upgrade to the Dragon Fire Shields, a lava visage, which would be similar to a serpentine visage, but it would protect you from regular fire. And you would charge it with, instead of Zulrah skills, you would charge it with the Volku's essence. A possible upgrade to the dark bow, which would spew lava, and it would apply a new damage over time called burn, which would act similar to poison, but you would need to use anti-fire to remove the burn from yourself. And a possible Themeron's lava attachment, which would give it, which would allow you to charge it with lava runes, or which would give it a chargeable lava spell that also applied burn as well.
So that's changing the Themeron Scepter into a charged staff, basically.
Which I think by default it should. I don't think it should come from like an upgrade, but
it should already also be able to autocast Ancients. So that
oh my god, I can't even do that. That's so dumb.
I know, point? Or also it'd be quite good because then you could bring it to like the Wilderness Slayer Cave and just autocast Ancients and get some like really big magic experience.
Yeah,
especially on task in there, like doing nechrils and stuff. It would be nuts. Yeah, I don't know. These are some interesting. I don't like the dark bow one. It doesn't make any sense. If you're peeking with a dark bow, you're finishing someone off with that. You don't need a burn like a DOT, like a dot. You don't need that. They're gonna die to the 40/40 that you're gonna slap them with.
Yeah, that's true.
That one feels out of place to me. Like if you're gonna upgrade the dark bow, make it a stronger spec or something like that. Or make it shoot a third arrow.
Third, yeah. I like the idea of like the burn damage over time. I think that could fit if it acted a little bit different than poison. I'm not sure how you would do it. I can see an upgrade to the dark bow being something, but I don't know if I would want it to be a direct upgrade, allowing, a pure just to get this new upgraded dark bow. I think it would be maybe nice to now maybe turn it into a new type of dark bow that you need a higher requirement, so that becomes maybe more of an end game. You don't really see a dark bow used outside of the pure bracket, and even in the pure bracket, you don't really see it too often.
Yeah, the helm is kind of like, it's kind of meh. Yeah, I don't think it would get much use. The Serp helm is just better. I like the idea of the boss overall. I think it's pretty cool.
I think it'd be pretty nice.
In multi, is like, personally, I don't like it because I'm an Iron Man, but I mean, there are plenty of bosses in multi and they suck to kill. As long as you're just not forced to kill it, I wouldn't mind. So it would have some cool upgrades, maybe a pet, stuff like that.
Yeah, none of these seem like you would need to have the items.
No. Well, there is one that you're gonna need to have. I don't know which boss it's coming from though.
Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe we're
the ring upgrade.
Oh yeah, let's get into it. So that was one of the bosses. The next boss is coming from a boss called Skal or Skull. It's going to be featured on a new island called Skull Island. This would be an undead monster, and the potential drops would be a lunar upgrade to Themeron's Scepter that makes it autocast lunars.
Why?
Which I don't know what that means.
You just chain vengeances. I think they mean ancients. Surely this was a typo.
Yeah, maybe you're healing other nonstop.
Yeah, but they all have cooldowns, so there's nothing you could actually auto cast with lunars.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. Make pies, maybe.
Yeah, it's already auto cast, so
True. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Very
maybe
cryptic,
Mod
but-
Ash took my suggestion of us being able to auto cast and make more than one hunter kit in our inventory, and this is how he's introducing the update.
So sick.
He answered my tweet and he says, "Yeah, Heartless, but you're gonna have to go to Skull Island, kill a level 1000 boss, and then you can make your hunter kits, and then you can go get your ranger boots."
The hunter enthusiasts are screaming as they feel like they're forced to kill this new 912 boss. Level 912 boss.
Exactly.
But there are possibly better rewards coming from this, and it would be a item that would allow you to basically upgrade or combine. Is it upgrade and combine the wilderness rings with the the Dagonoth King rings to create some sort of upgrade.
That's insane.
And what does that mean?
Like, imagine it's like a brimstone ring that also gives crush bonus. It also gives +4 prayer, and it also gives +4 stab. Like, it's just
the
a
max
ring that does
cave
everything.
Of rings. Yeah.
Like, I don't hate the idea of combining the wildy rings into one. I actually think that's super sick. But because they're kind of niche in and of themselves. But I don't like the idea of it coming from a multi-boss in, level 60 plus wildy or whatever this is going to be. This would be a situation where people would feel forced to go and get it. I do like the idea of an upgrade. Maybe not the DK's rings, maybe just the wildy rings together, and then you can imbue it.
The thing, it's a little cryptic because what does that mean? You can combine wilderness rings with DK rings to create upgrades. It's not quite obvious what it means.
Maybe it means that you can pick and choose which rings you want together. Like, not just combine all 6 together, but like, let's say you're going on a trip and you want an imbued Archer's ring and an imbued Berserker ring. You could like put them together or something.
Yeah, I think there's something there. I think that idea isn't great because we have like the Brimstone ring, which allows, a bunch of different. It's kind of like a hybrid ring. But if you can start combining like the Warrior ring with the Archer's ring, which is a terrible example to use, but let's go with it. How they have this like hybrid range and melee ring, which is like, I don't know. I think there's a better,
or like you could just have an extra ring slot because Jagex realizes we have more than one finger.
Oh, yeah, could be. They've talked about it. They talked about having another ring slot that would be your utility ring slot. So you have one ring for like combat related rings, like Berserker ring and all that stuff, and then you have another ring that would
can't
be for
give any
like
stats. Yeah, that's cool.
Like you would put your ring of dueling on there, or you'd put just other rings that like the ring of foraging, like they're the
link.
more,
They'd have to have no stats. I kind of like that idea. Like it
was pitched long time ago. I haven't heard anything since.
I don't hate it for sure, but
yeah. Anyways,
also
I think
seems unnecessary, right?
Yeah, I think the skull boss is. I think there's these ideas. I don't think the idea is great. I think there's probably a cooler idea you can come from it, but that's the odd one out. And then we have the last boss pitch, which will be the first OSRS world boss. What does that mean? It's going to be this massive boss that spawns somewhere in the wilderness. There will be multiple different locations that it could be. And my guess would it would kind of roam a bit if it wasn't in combat. And you would get some sort of notification that this boss is spawn with a vague idea where it would be. It would be level 2,500 with 60,000 hit points. And the idea is once you kill it, these are the ideas of the drop table would be maybe a best in slot PvP upgrade to God Warrior's weapons that can only be used in the wilderness, maybe potential buffs that would work within the wilderness. The idea of the boss is more fleshed out than the items are because that's kind of it. And those aren't great ideas either. But I love the idea of a world boss because we don't really have that in the game. And it's in other games, and I like them when they're in other games.
Like where they can just be roaming like literally anywhere. You can see them.
And the idea is like you would show up and like everyone's trying to kill it because it's such a big boy. You need a bunch of people to kill it, and everyone wants those rewards. Now, how do you do it without it becoming a scatter and run situation?
It's just going to be a multi-team fest, though, is the problem. Rot's just going to have them locked down, and they're just going to show up with their boys, and they're just going to, rag everyone out and then kill the boss themselves. That's my worry about these like large multi-bosses. So if they're super profitable, then they're just going to get locked down by clans. But is that a bad thing? Because it gives them something to do. So as long as they're not any like insane, as long as you're not forcing people to go there for like pets or like unique items that only come from the boss, then yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah, I think there is a way to do this. I know some people are hearing this and like, this is a terrible idea. I don't want to feel forced to kill this giant. Like, it's going to be a PvP
no
fest.
One's forcing you to kill it, right? So you can just ignore it. And I just like I wouldn't even mind if the multi-clans had something to, or like multi-PKers had something to get them excited or something to defend. Like, is that necessarily a bad thing for the game? Not really, because it keeps them out of other areas, stops them from luring.
And like, I guess my argument would be that also, I have been PvPing since we've seen the bank keys come out for PKing and a few other things. And I've been doing it on my Pier and Rev caves a lot. They have this Rev boss that randomly spawns in the cave, and everyone kind of runs to kill it because they want to get all the loot. Everybody gets loot for killing it. Whoever does the most damage gets more loot, and plus you get this possible buff that allows you to kill Revs even more. And I thought more PvPers would be hunting people down, killing this boss. But there's quite often like a group of people killing it and no PvPer in sight. So I think the way they have it with the Rev caves is it's kind of easy for the boss to spawn, for everyone to run and kill it, and then kind of scatter and run before any PvPers show up.
It's also not profitable enough or take long enough to kill where people can mobilize and get there. Whereas if something has 60,000 health and it's level 2,000, I'm imagining it's going to hit pretty damn hard. So you're going to need a lot of people to take it down. So realistically, only clans are going to be able to do that. But it's certainly an interesting concept.
Yeah,
it's much better than I don't really like the Skull Island boss. That one sucks. But the Red Dragon, really, really great. I love that they give something. Finally, a Red Dragon Slayer task could be useful. I like that a lot too.
Another thing as well, I don't know what happened, but PvPers are not as good on average as they used to be. I feel that's how it feels to me. This is probably very anecdotal, but when I go and I do Rev caves, or when I go and I do wilderness bosses like Callisto and whatnot, I tend to bring like Dragon Claws or an Armadillo God Sword and some Vengeance. I'm surprised by how often I come close to killing the PvPer. And I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, but it seems like I'm bumping into less on average. I'm bumping into less Arums and toxic staff.
I don't know. I think I see more. I think most of them suck, but yeah, the ones that are out there that are good are way better than they used to be.
Yeah, the good ones are much better, and with the F bow, the Bofa, and all that stuff, they have a lot kill potential.
It's also like there's so many AHK clients too.
Yeah,
like it's a different ball game. PKing. I'd never really get involved with it personally. But I like fighting back too. It's fun.
Yeah, I've noticed that I've started fighting back because I'm like, it happens enough that I'm like, I'm gonna just bring Dragon Claws with me because. One, I can't get skull tricked now with that update. Check your settings, switch that on. And yeah, there's a few times like I almost killed someone. And I'm like, wow, that was closer than I thought it would be. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was doing Chaos LE for the combat achievements, a guy got on me in like decent gear. I just auto-retaliated with my F-bow and killed him. Just hit multiple 40s in a row and then just vengeanced one of his attacks, like his big ballista. And then he was dead. People are pretty bad at PKing, but the ones that are good, you can really tell. They bring a lot of risk.
The people who are going for those PVMers and like maybe and people at the Chaos Altar, they're usually there for a reason. Like when I PK, I might go there on my main because I'm not very good, and you will bump into more not great PKers there because the good PKers seem to be at Rev Caves and other spots. But anyways,
we should rip through this update because we still have lots to get to.
That's true. Okay, there's a few more things. Next is the Skull Impling, which will be a impling that travels around the wilderness. You can catch, will give you pretty good stuff, and it might skull you. They don't talk about it, but it seems like that's something that would happen. And they would have a Corrupted Revenants Caves, which would be stronger Revenants Caves with better loot, but the idea is the entrance would change every couple of minutes. So there's no clear-cut way in, maybe way out. They don't quite say. And
it's multi.
Yeah, and it would be multi, and then they would have maybe a bounty hunter island, which would be, you know, a place you would go to do your classic bounty hunting, because they've removed that. And I know personally I kind of missed that. Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Honestly, they really threw a lot at the wall. Some of it's good, some of it feels unfinished, some of it not the greatest. There's a rat boss, which would give you teleports and some other stuff to the city. But overall, I just want to say my final thoughts is like, I go around in my head and like, how do I feel about the wilderness? I obviously love the idea of the wilderness, and I like this update. I would love to see an expansion like this, mainly because the wilderness is a really unique place. You know, people argue it should be meant for PvPers to fight PvPers. You shouldn't feel compelled to go there as a skiller or a PVMer. But I think the way I think of it is never that it's like a area that's meant strictly for PvP. That would be something like a PvP arena. This is more of an area that has like no rules. So it kind of anything goes. I play a game called Escape from Tarkov, which is very much like a battle royale game, but you can definitely go. A lot of people go in there and don't do any fighting because they just want to scavenge and find items. And it's really similar to how the wilderness feels. And even so much so with the safe pouch, they have an item in Escape from Tarkov, which is probably where they get a lot of inspiration, but you can put stuff in this pouch on Escape from Tarkov. And even if you die, you'll keep it. But I always get the feeling this is kind of like, it's like the international waters where there's like no rules. Sure, you'll have some pirates out there that are like looting other boats. We got some fishermen. You might have a guy who's like surfing because he just loves to surf out there. And this is kind of not the greatest analogy, but
no, it's fine, because like an ocean, you need a food chain, and if you don't have one, then there's going to be nothing attracting players to the area. So you need low-level stuff that players can do, but the likelihood of them dying is really low, just like fish. It's safe in big numbers, right? And then as you go up the food chain, you yourself become a juicier target, and then your predators are also a lot more frightening.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. But yeah, I do agree with you that one big flaw would be diluting the wilderness further and spreading people out even more, which means it'll feel way less active. What about you? What's your end takeaways?
Me at the Rev Caves, Dills, I look like an absolute pleb. I have like an MSB and like, I don't know, just garbage stuff on. So I get scouted because the big boys have scouts, the big fish. They don't even bother coming to kill me. I'm just not worth their time. Slide under the radar. Yeah, I think overall, I love the idea of this expansion. Like I said, it needs to be jam-packed so that it's, you know, active.
It needs to be good. It needs to be really, there can't be no dead content.
I like the dragon boss. It needs to be well thought out, and all the content needs to be, you know, live. We talked about the resource area too. I don't really like overall agree with resources coming from the Wildy, but if they are going to put them in, they have to be like worth going for.
Yeah, they have a resource area that like no one ever goes to because, I mean, what the hell's the point?
Maybe like a new type of tree or something. Like if you add something different, who knows? But yeah,
it's a tough one. It's a tough balance, but I do like this idea.
Me too. I think the expansion certainly needs to happen in some form.
Great stuff. Anything else to comment before we go on over to the news?
No, let's do it.
All right, great. So yeah, this game jam is cool. And you know what? We might not see any of this ever come into the game. These are just really ideas to gauge how the community feels. So yeah, let's hop into the news because we did get some stuff come into the game this past week. First one's first. This is probably the big one. This is the big one. Guardians of the Rift, which is this new activity that you can train rune crafting with. It's kind of like how what Wintertodt is for fire making, but it's nothing like Wintertodt.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah, and arguably better. People seem to love it.
Oh,
but
100%. This revolutionizes the rune crafting skill, in my opinion. Completely overhauled it.
It's quite cool. So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but the first thing is it comes with this quest called the Temple of the Eye, which you will have to complete this quest, and then you gain access and a little bit of a tutorial to the Guardians of the Rift. But it's it's an entry level quest. It's quite easy to jump into. I guess spoiler alert, anyone who is a big lore junkie that wants to figure this out themselves, skip ahead 30 seconds. But interesting note that you come across this what do you call it? It's an elder god artifact called the Stone of Jaz, which is in RuneScape 3. And it's like to get into lore, it's like a big thing to just feature as you like walk by this quest, because it's supposed to be this like god egg of some sort, or like the whole world. I can't remember. I gotta look into it. It's a pretty intense thing. Either the world gets born from it or it gets destroyed if it were to ever hatch. It's this like crazy item in RuneScape 3, this crazy artifact, and we just kind of walk past it in the quest, and it's there. So yeah, it's confirmed in the game. Lore junkies, tell me where I'm wrong. Break it down for me. But what everyone is most excited for is this actual mini game itself. Harless, do you feel comfortable trying to break down what you actually? I've done it. I mean, someone with the pet, I feel like you've done it much more than I have.
I have like 18 KC to get the pet.
Oh, you have 18 KC.
I have done it quite a bit though. So yeah, I've done a few 100,000 XP.
Okay, we can team it.
It's pretty simple. Like there's not a lot to it. You mine the guardian. There's specifics on like how to effectively do it, but the gist of it is you mine the artifacts, the fragments. You turn them into essence. Then you go through the open altars. There's one for each altar. 4 of them are elementals. So that's the earth, air, water, and fire, just like the nations. And then the rest of them are catalytic. And you basically just you make your essence, you run through the portal. Each of them has a different tier. So the higher you go, the sort of better rewards you get. You make your runes, and then you go to the guardian, you power him up. And then you get these little cells. And those cells, depending on the level of the altar that you go to, will give you like a weak all the way up to overcharged cell. And then you just use those on the barriers, and the barriers will stop the minions from coming to kill your Rift Guardian that you're trying to protect. So it's pretty simple. It's kind of like a power up and protect style mini game, but it's fast paced and it's interesting. And there's a lot of nuances and a lot of little efficiencies that you can come up with that make it so much fun.
Yeah, and it sounds confusing. When I was reading a guide, I was like, what? I didn't understand a thing. I ran it a few times and it's quite simple. You as you mentioned, you make these like rune essence. You basically craft them at a table. And then what's cool is that there's, again, as you mentioned, there's the portals to all the different runecraft altars. So you go into whatever one's open. It might be the air rune altar, and you actually go to the air altar, and you'll just bump into somebody else who's also crafting air runes, maybe just running back and forth in Falador. So someone who's just doing that, like naturally, they'll just see like a flood of people come into their.
Imagine someone running back and forth from Falador to make air rune stills. But legitimately, I've gone to like the death altar and stuff, and I've seen people playing the mini game, so it's pretty funny. It
is nice, and it makes the world feel more alive, and it's like that's what we love. This game is like
you also get to go to altars that you would never really go to. Some of them are so interesting looking, like the body altar looks like the inside of, I don't know, something. It's just overall, it's just aesthetically great. It's fast paced, it's fun, and it also has these like nice chill downtimes where you're mining the essence for, a minute and a half, or you're crafting your runes at the table. So you get to just chill out. It's not just go, go, go. It does have a nice pacing to it. And it's not, even at its highest points, it's not too intense. You can follow like certain patterns. There are lots of YouTube videos on it. I'm not going to go into the details, but you can follow patterns to get like a pretty consistent game down. So that you get between like, 5 and 8 points a game, which will get you some good rolls. So overall, just like 14 thumbs up for this mini game. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. And the rewards,
it looks amazing. You're like underwater. The rewards are great. And what I love about it is like you get runes as you're rune crafting. So you get to see these giant chunks of runes pop up into your inventory. You get nice XP drops. It feels good to just see like a 1,000 plus XP drop happen. And then once you complete it as well, you get experience, kind of like Winter Todd.
Yeah, the active experience too is somewhere between maybe like 30K an hour if you're a low level, which is basically the same as EMI, going up to, maybe 60, 70K at peak efficiencies. I'm not actually sure, but that's kind of the range that you're looking at, which is much better than Zaya rune crafting, almost double the speed. And of course, the fact that you get rewards at the end makes it even more exciting, because every time you play a game, you get to go and, dip your fingies into the pool and see if you can pull something out.
Yeah.
And the rewards themselves are so good. The needle
it's like,
is insane.
What I love about it is that there's like 3 types of rewards. One, you get the runes that you craft. You get those runes, that's cool. You get a chance at these RNG items that you'll get from the loot pool that you can, it's kind of like Temperos, where at the end you can pull as many loots that you've kind of collected. And you get this new type of currency, which you can then use to spend on at the shop. So you have 3 different types of rewards you're getting, and that feels good. So
yeah, it's cool that the outfit comes from the shop, and so does the ring. And then the recolor or the reskin for the Rift Guardian, they all come from the shop. And that's basically kind of a given. Like, you play a certain amount of games and you'll get X amount of pearls, which you'll be able to afford the outfit. So it's not really RNG on that end. It's just like, hey, put in your 15 hours and you'll get the outfit. It's RNG on the needle and the lantern, which are both just exceptional items. The needle just stitches your pouches together into one big pouch.
Yep. It's the, what's it called? The abyssal needle. The abyssal needle. Yep.
Hilarious that they put a regular needle on the drop table as well. Whoever decided to do that was just the ultimate troll.
They always do that.
And then you've got the lantern as well, which has like different effects, but basically the best one is your pouches don't degrade. You get extra points from, if you're max and you don't need that. If you have a rune crafting cape, then you can just get extra points from the mini game. There's lots of interesting things that you can do. And then obviously there's the pet as well, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. What's so nice about having both RNG and rewards that you have to buy with this new currency is that buying the rewards with the currency, people break it down to like, grind it for this many hours and you will get the runecraft outfit. So it's kind of nice to know, but at the same time, it can kind of break the game for me when I'm like, okay, let's start this activity, start the timer. We have 9 hours to go. That can feel bad sometimes, but then the RNG part of it comes in where it's like, you never know when you're going to get this item. You know that roughly, but you could get lucky. Unfortunately, you can go very unlucky. But when you have both of those available, it feels nice because you're grinding out your RNG items while you're breaking down this rewards shop timer that you're kind of clicked in. But
totally. And the outfit is just insane too. Like all the extra runes you get from it.
Yeah, so there's this new outfit called the Raiments of the Eye. It's the new skilling outfit. We have a bunch like Lumberjack, the Angler's outfit. Anyways, this is a new one, but instead of giving experience like many of them do, where they'll give you 5% experience when you have the full set, each piece will grant you 10% more runes while rune crafting, so you'll have 60% more runes when you have the full set. So it's pretty nice. And yeah, as you mentioned, it looks really cool, and there's 3 different recolors, I believe. There is
insane, dude. It just completely changes the way the game has been played, especially for irons.
Right, yeah. You can now grind out your blood runes nicely.
So with the true blood altar, if you're doing abyss rune crafting, it's something like 11,000 blood runes per hour.
Okay.
Which is, and then 55k XP. You need a diary cape to be able to do it somewhat effectively. But still, it's really, really good. Because there's a bank teleport on the diary cape to Jar, like in the desert. And then you can teleport to the lesser fanatic, which is right next to the ditch. So you just go back and forth between the two. Yeah, such a fantastic update, man. I really can't say enough about it.
A nice little perk that does come with the hat as well is that you can imbue it with any tiara, so you don't need a tiara for runecrafting. You mentioned pets, but we also get a new transmog to the runecrafting pet, which will allow you to make it look like the Rift Guardian that is kind of at the center of this minigame. Another reward is you'll get the Ring of Elements, and this brand new ring will be used to teleport near any of the elemental runecraft altars, which, okay, I mean, that's the thing. You mentioned the Abyssal Lantern, which both looks really cool, and it kind of changes the appearance with each different type of log, and each log gives you a different buff, which is very nice. So you're not always going to want to use the redwoods, which are the highest tier logs, you might want to use magic. You might want to use use because, as you mentioned, it gives you more points. But with this, because we're visiting actual rune altars, we can't just go to the blood rune altar because it never existed. But now it was teased in the Sins of the Father quest. Now we can actually go to it with this new update, which is very nice as well. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. You mentioned you're a big fan of it. I've done it too, and it's a lot of fun. Even with 99 rune crafting, it still feels quite fun doing it. And I'm excited to do this on I have an Ultimate Iron Man that's kind of like a skiller. So I'm looking very much forward to doing that on that account as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's got me excited for rune crafting, where before I was just going to do Zaya Bloods 99. But now I don't even think I'm going to touch them again. Like likely I'll just do this mini game for a few million XP and then finish the rest up with blood runes or something.
Yeah, nice.
With the wilderness. Yeah, so just really change the way rune crafting is completed and has removed ZMI. ZMI is still there and like lavas and stuff if you want to be like sweaty and get good XP. I've heard with day ult it's like 120k per hour at ZMI. One of my friends was telling me, which is great. But if you don't want to do ZMI, then you don't have to touch it. You can just play this mini game up to 77 or whatever it is your goal is for rune crafting. So yeah, overall, what do you think of the pet?
The pets look cool, both of them. I love the people who are kind of shitting on the what's it called, the abyssal
protector. Yeah,
abyssal protector pet. I mean, you have that pet, right?
I do. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a bit funny looking, but yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's got like what's interesting. It's got like its head is like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And we have these NPCs that are like the abyssal protector. And what's interesting, they have a like happy face, a sad face, a mad face, and a neutral face.
Yeah, it's super funny.
It changes depending on what's happening with the NPC. At least if you're fighting it, it goes to like the angry face. When it dies, it goes to the sad face. When it attacks you, it turns to the happy face. And when it's doing nothing, it's the neutral face, which is really cool. That's like a fun little detail I didn't know until I was reading the wiki.
Yeah, the pet doesn't actually change, but it'd be cool if the head switched around or the faces changed. But
yeah, it would be cool. Like depending on what happened to you, maybe. But yeah,
it's hard to compare it to the pets. The Nightmare and Nex are such sick pets. So the Protector just kind of like pales in comparison to those two. But yeah,
it'll sit when you get burnt out of the other pets.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he's gonna go in the house for now. But it's pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to eventually diving deep into the mini game and getting the full outfit and stuff.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice. And I guess last piece before we get off of this dev blog, and we mentioned the Ultimate Iron Man, they have changed the Ultimate Iron Man's death pile. So now it saves to your player so that you can hop worlds and it will still be there. You don't have, if you disconnect, you don't got to remember what world your death pile was sitting on. So that'll be nice for you Ultimate Iron Man players out there. Next up is the account services update, player security improvements. They're working on this new account system, which on a glance is like whatever, but then it sounds really, really cool because one, they are partnering with RuneLite. So this will be eventually integrated with RuneLite, or RuneLite will be integrated with the old school RuneScape launcher, which is pretty cool. You will be able to link multiple RuneScape accounts to this so that for me, I have a bunch of accounts. I could easily jump between them without having to like put in all this information, or even the authenticator will be you authenticate the one account that has all them linked. And they are working to bring all of this to a new enhanced C++ client because right now it's on a Java client. So any of the coders out there, you know what that means. I have no idea what that means, but I do know that the Steam client, which is the C++, feels very smooth.
Are they looking to put RuneLite into a C++ instead of Java? Is that what they're saying? Or are they just partnering with RuneLite?
That's my interpretation of all this. It seems like they might at some point be like, hey, we have our vanilla client, which has nothing, or you can do the more the enhanced client, which will be RuneLite, which I think that would be like, it'll be featured kind of like maybe when someone creates their account, choose which one you want. I don't know exactly, but
so this is good for them because it solves like 3 or 4 problems in one by partnering with RuneLite.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about having a shit client because.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that one. So yeah, first of all, like RuneLite's their official client, which is nice. Second, it'll give them a little bit more power over RuneLite now that they're official partners, I think, anyways, because it's still open source, but then since they're officially partnered, they'll have a little bit more say. Third, they don't have to worry about putting time and resources into making a better client. Like, I know they were eventually going to be like, oh, we're going to make a great client. You remember the whole like HD battle thing? Like, that kind of bullshit can just go out the window now that they're just straight up officially partnering with, the community in a way. And then the fourth, and probably the most important, is that people will stop getting scammed by scammed by downloading RuneLite. This is one of the only games in the world where the majority of the player base plays on a client that is not provided by the company who provides the game.
Yeah. And it's what's even more confusing is like runelite.com is a scam site, whereas runelite.net is the proper one.
Exactly.
That's hard. Like, how would you know that?
So them officially partnering with RuneLite is just going to solve like all sorts of problems and just allow them to, move forward and work on the things that are truly important, which is the content in the game. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit more with all of these updates coming up the pipe. So yeah, I think it's a good time for RuneScape. Like, everything seems to be trending in the right direction.
Yeah, everything seems to be going well. And again, if with this new client update, if they finally funnel it down to just, okay, we have RuneLite, that's our client that everyone has to use. And if it's C++, I've heard people, I don't know anything about coding, but I've heard people who sound like they know a lot about coding. This could make it a lot easier to fight against bots because, hey, if they detect you're using another client, you're gone.
I think it's because bot scripts don't quote me on this, but I'm quite certain it's easy to write bot scripts for Java, but it's not as easy to write them for C++.
And I think RuneScape 3 is on a C++ client, and you're able to kind of detect. You could be like, listen, we can tell you're on a different client, so we're just the potential of being banned if you're not on RuneLite could be something we see down the road.
A lot easier in the future for Jagex. So, also, I had this philosophical question for a friend: if all the bots got removed tomorrow from the game, do you think it'd be better or worse?
I mean, you want to say it's going to be better,
right? But
it's hard to know the impact on what bots actually do to this.
I think the biggest impact will be, I think, like maybe 95 to 99% of secondaries all come from bots.
I think a lot do. I think one thing I love about this game, and I've noticed it with RuneScape 3, is that on old school RuneScape, you can buy almost any item you need off the Grand Exchange. And it's probably a lot to do with bots. There's probably tons of bots who are putting that regular needle that you buy on the Grand Exchange. Like, who the hell's selling that? It's probably like bots or something.
All the like red spiders eggs and like a lot of the birdhouses and stuff all come from bots. So brews and restores would be like, $50K to $100K a pop. So all of a sudden going for a next trip is going to cost you $800K to get 2 kills.
But then it becomes a cycle.
But then the items go up and then, yeah. So like in theory, it would be better. But yeah, I think initially it'd be quite painful.
I think the thing that would be my biggest worry is if there's tons of bots who are selling like hammers, who are selling knives and these items that I constantly buy on the Grand Exchange because it's just more convenient for me. But I'm always wondering who the hell is selling thread? Who's making money off selling pie dishes?
That's the easy solve though, because you just keep one in your bank. But I feel like it's the large quantity items that they bring into the game that are the problem. The soft clay, the red spider's eggs, I don't know, I'm not even sure what else bots make, but they just basically grab all the secondaries and all the stackable items they bring into the game.
It's something that I think a lot of us don't know the extent bots impact this game. And it could be more than we expect. It could be less. I don't know. I don't even really know.
Think about like wines of Zami, like they're already expensive. Think about how expensive those would be if there were no bots.
Mm-hmm.
Ranging potions wouldn't be 400 GP or 1,000 GP each. They'd be like,
but then suddenly
10K, 15K for a ranging potion.
But then suddenly farming like wines of Zami become like more profitable. So maybe people start doing that.
It would be good because it would make skilling profitable again.
Yeah, it's a weird loop. Yeah, it's hard to know exactly where it lands.
But I feel like it would be quite painful. It would be quite painful at first. Anyways, we should move on. There's still more to talk about.
There is. This is big stuff. But you mentioned things are looking good for the game, and Jagex is like, yeah, players are happy, and let's capitalize on that. So the big wigs over at Jagex HQ, they decided, you know what, we need to raise the price of membership coming in May. So they are rising the price, which it's going to be $12.50 a month USD. for anyone who decides to unsubscribe and resubscribe, or any new players or anything like that. So it is it's the price of membership is increased, and yeah, people are arguing rightfully so. Is it rightfully so? Like, what's going on? But I think the big thing is people are getting mad at the JMods, but I don't know what JMods are like. The JMods don't get a cut, right?
It ultimately comes down to, where does the extra money go? If
Yeah,
it goes into, if the extra $1.50 goes into servers, paying more for more JMods, expanding the team, which will in turn make the game better, then yeah, I'm all for them increasing membership a little bit. But if the money is just going into lining the pockets of the parent company of Jagex because they see that the game is doing well now, or the players are happy and they're trying to take advantage, then no, I hate this change.
Yeah.
So I feel like it all depends on what is going on behind the scenes.
And sadly, if we could guess, it feels like it is lining the pockets of the investors, which is what the Carlyle Group, which I I invested money into the Carlyle Group like a long time ago, like maybe a year ago or something, and that was a bad move. It's just been going down. So is this why? I don't know. I liked RuneScape, so
It's your grandma's favorite company, the Carlyle Group.
She's like, do it, Carlyle Group. They're great.
Do it, Dills. Do it. The Carlyle Group. They know everything.
You love RuneScape. Well, that's what I was like. Oh, I love RuneScape. Let's invest into something that I know. And then that was a bad move.
Dills.
It's just been going down, but it's okay. It's okay. Maybe I'll benefit from this price increase. Lining my pockets. You guys are lining my pockets.
Lining Dill's pockets, going right to the podcast.
Yeah, get my 3 cents dividends every 3 months.
That's right.
Nice. But anyways, yeah, so it's $12.50 now. But your old, whatever price you're paying now, you can be grandfathered in as long as you don't unsubscribe. And that being said, you will actually save more money now by subscribing during the Premier Club, the 12-month subscription. So what this effectively does is you will save more money by subscribing for a year, whereas if you keep doing it month by month, it will cost you more. So for someone like me who tends to say subscribe forever, I always take advantage of these 1 month or these 1 year deals. But for someone who is on and off, might not be in your best interest to do that. So yeah, and because of this, we're probably going to see, bonds are going to go up in price as well, which mean the value of bonds in game are definitely going to go up.
Almost certainly.
Oh, right. We're almost done. We're almost done. RuneScape this is a lot. RuneScape is coming out with a board game. It's being made by a company called Steamforged Games. They are producing this. And yes, the RuneScape board game coming out in 2022 at some point. They have a Kickstarter that you will be able to pledge some money to get kind of your first copy of the RuneScape board game as soon as it's available. I'm quite excited. I love my board games. That being said, I looked at Steamforged as a company and what other board games they've made. They've made ones like the Monster Hunter board game, Dark Souls board game, Horizon Zero Dawn board game, and none of those seem to be that good.
So they just make video game board games, basically. They don't have any original games.
It seems to be that way. They have a few other ones, but they do also do a lot of like capitalizing on the name of a popular game. And I was reading some reviews and people who had played it, and it seems like generally speaking, they're like mediocre at best.
That's too bad.
And downright suck at worst. So, but you know what? I think RuneScape has potential to be an awesome board game, and I'm quite excited for that.
It was just reskinned Monopoly and go around and collect one bill.
I'm buying Varrock and yeah.
Buying the stinky dog as well.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, we have the last part, which is the Gielinor Gazette of March 2022. Let's speed run this bad boy because we're running a little bit long, and we got access to a song called Beneath Cursed Sand song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the song in the background. We can listen to it and let's see if we can complete it by the time it runs out. It's 47 seconds long. All right. 1 sec. And let's go. Leagues 3 came to an end. Leagues 3 is now over, which means you can go claim your rewards. And they are already looking at Leagues 4. They've been kind of studying how Leagues 3 went in the past 2 months. and they are working towards League's 4, and we'll hear an announcement later this year. Very cool stuff. Beneath Curse Sounds, as you can hear, music track came out, which means the Tomb of a Mascot Raid has some things that we can look at as well. Some art styles were released. Look at the dev blog if you want to see it. Looks quite cool. Kind of like Roman-esque in the way it looks, but looks pretty neat. And they have this secret update called the Giant's Foundry. We don't really know what that means, but they have a little blurb here that is quite cryptic. So a little bit of a code, but what is the Giant Foundry going to be? No one really knows. Finally, the song ran out. Finally, Dead Man Rerun is happening April 20th, 420, baby. We're finally getting that rerun. And really, it's going to be PvPers versus DDoS attackers. Who is going to win? I don't know. Okay. And we had two departures on JMods that had left, Mod Zuko and Mod Deagle, which I thought it said Deegan at first. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Anyways, sad to see them go, I guess. Anything you want to mention on the Gazette before we take a break?
No, I feel like there was a bunch of drama with Mod Zuko, but I don't actually know what it was. So maybe I'll dive into that and I'll bring it back next week.
Oh, right. Yeah, she made a tweet and people think she got fired.
Tweets are great. I love them. But yeah, they're interesting for sure. So anyways, I'll dive into see if I can figure out what happened behind the scenes.
A tale for another day, indeed. All right. We got 2 calls we got to get to. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Boom. You hear that music? That music means we have entered the Grand Exchange where I can... This is the best time to sell these Carlisle stocks that I have. Just kidding. We know it's going up. That price increase, it's going to work out for me, right? But hey guys, we're at the Grand Exchange. This segment is where I tell you can support the show. And normally we stick to Patreon and buy me a coffee, but not this month. Because this month we have Manscaped on board, who is sponsoring the podcast. But before I talk about some of their products, we have to get into the advertising mode. So I got to read these lines. And guys, I went to a program where I was professionally trained on how to read advertising. But I think last episode I really showcased my strengths, my skills there. Let's do it a little bit differently. Let's vibe with some power thirst. You guys remember that ad? That is the gold standard for advertising. So I'll try my best. Support for the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off. I just spit on my monitor. Damn it. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WILDERNESS at manscaped.com. And if my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. I am so sorry for anyone who's listening on speakers or on a device where other people can listen. I'm so sorry for that. But I wish I had some water, but I don't have any water on me. But yeah, seriously, guys, Manscaped is sponsoring the episode. They sent over their Performance Package 4.0, and with it comes a bunch of little goodies, right? Last episode, I talked about the lawnmower, which I think if you need an electric razor and you're going to Manscaped, the lawnmower is probably the creme de la creme when it comes to that sort of stuff. I have tried it out. I love it. But they sent over a few other things. So I figured we'll talk about one of the other products this time. But don't worry, as I did last week, and you know what? We're going to keep on doing this. It comes with a little bit of a story. So this episode, we're going to talk about the Weed Whacker, which is an ear and nose hair trimmer. So I have had experience with a nose trimmer in the past. I'm almost 30 years old and I started getting these blades of hair sticking out of my nose and it would tickle my upper lip. That's really bad. That's like, there's 2 things in my life that make me feel old. One of them was that. The second was when I had to buy a book on how to treat back pain. and I was looking forward to when it was arriving. It didn't feel good to sit there and I'm reading a book about back pain. But I used this nose trimmer. This isn't the Manscaped nose trimmer. This was a different one. But I used it and I was like, you know what? I've never used a nose trimmer before. And you know when you're like cutting, you can kind of hear when you're actually cutting hairs. It has that, like, it makes a noise. And you know when you're getting stuff. So I was using it and I was crunching a bunch of hairs and I was like, perfect. So I went to town. I really went deep into, like, I was like tickling my brain with it. I was going deep. And I was like, look at this. I've like waxed the inside of my nose. We're going to be looking good. We're never going to sneeze again. Unless maybe nose hairs have nothing to do with sneezing, but in this scenario, let's just go with it because I think it does and it makes more sense for the story. But anyways, I trimmed it but the problem was like hours later, or maybe it was the next day, my nose was completely raw. It was so raw and it was like, I needed that hair because the hair acted like almost like a buffer and it prevented my nose just from like chafing, like the inside of my nose. It was pretty rough. So I dabbled with a Manscaped. I was very gentle. I went in and it did the trick. I don't think I have any ear hair, so I did not try it in the ear. My point is, I use this. My nose is feeling good. It's feeling fresh. I heard some of the crunches. That being said, I learned from my last mistake and I did not I didn't go too hard. I did not go too deep. So overall, it's been a positive experience. Anywho, code word is wilderness, 20% off. But hey, you know what? If you just want to support the show and you don't necessarily want to buy a product of some sorts, you can head on over to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast to do that. So I want to welcome to the Patreon crew, Yulfi Ferrick. Thank you so much for signing up. It really means a lot. And of course, to our top tier supporters, you get a shout out every single episode. Of course, the recently mentioned Yulfi Ferrick, Strosity, P. Jackals, Scott Bainbridge, Splemo, Szechuan, Yay Fiber, and Z Space. Guys, thank you so much for the support. And there's a whole lot of you who also support. And honestly, I can't thank you guys enough. It really, really means a lot. Always constantly blown away. But if for some reason, but if Patreon's not your thing, you don't like the subscription model, I get it. I really, really do. So you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/dills if you want to make a one-time payment instead and avoid the old, the subscription model. I get it. I really do. So 2JZ Soup, thank you so much. Sour, Punani, and Drew, thank you guys so much for supporting. And of course, shout out to Drew. We were literally just talking when I said I had to take a break to record this Grand Exchange segment. So I'm just going to slip that bad boy in there. And of course, last but not least, our Discorders out there. We have I have to give a shout out to Chick and Battle Staffs for boosting the Discord server, giving us that unique URL, which is discord.gg/thewilderness. Woo! Okay, guys, let's get on to the rest of the segment. And you know what? Let me tag this on the end here. If anyone's listening and they feel like these segments are too friggin' long, the reason I put music underneath it now is so that it's easy to fast forward through it if you need to. So hopefully that's something you realize you could do if you feel like these ramble on for too long. Because I'm from a family of serial ramblers, serial chatterboxes, and we talk a lot sometimes, which is why I do this friggin' podcast that sometimes goes like up to 2 hours. Okay, we got some callers, so let's get right into it. Thanks everyone for the support. Okay, we are back. And we started this thing since episode 200, where we have this call-in. People can call in and leave us messages, quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of the podcast. And we started doing this like weekly question of the week, and people can call in if they want to answer that specifically. But again, you don't have to call in and answer that. You can call in for whatever reason you want. But yeah, this last episode 202's question of the week was, what is your unpopular opinion when it comes to old school RuneScape? So we got a call from Matacause1, and let's take a listen.
Go Skull to Wildy Boys. It's me again, Matacause1, your favorite Austrian, grinding away at fire making in the Alps. I'm here to answer this week's question, of course. You want my unpopular opinion? Well, here it goes. Dills is great at pronouncing words.
Oh, thanks, man.
Ha! Of course I'm kidding.
God.
That's not an unpopular opinion.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
I just like to tease. I love you, Dills. No, but in all seriousness, my unpopular opinion would probably be that the best part about RuneScape is questing without a guide and only listening to in-game sounds and music. Honestly, I think Jagex has done an insane job making an immersive world full of hypnotic music and alluring lore, and taking the time to get lost in it is a brilliant experience of adventure, stress reduction, and honestly just to escape from reality. What do you guys think? Have you ever done any quests this way? Auf Wiederhören.
All right. What do you think of that unpopular opinion?
I mean, I'm a known spacebar warrior when it comes to quests. So no, not really. I do the new ones without guides if they're not too long, but if they are too long, then I wait for a guide. I can't be asked. It's not my thing, so certainly fits in the unpopular opinion. I see where he's coming from. Like if you like to figure stuff out for yourself, then it can be enjoyable.
It's it's a hate it or love it quest system, I think. And like a lot of us, I think we break things down on efficiency so hard that you just want the rewards. You just want to complete the quest. And there's a lot of quests, right? You sit there and you play through all of them without a guide. It's, I don't know, how long is that going to take you? There's 152 quests in this game. Some of them will take you hours on hours just to complete. So that could take a while. So I can understand why people speed through it. And I did for the most part as well. But new quests, I don't do them with guides, and they tend to be very fun unless they suck. If the quests suck, then they suck to do without a guide, which is kind of like the double-edged sword. But I will agree that it is funner to do them without a guide. And I say this because I used to, I think it was 2018, I started streaming a bit on twitch.tv/Dills if you want to. I don't stream that much, so I don't know if you'd want to follow me. But I used to play this.
Nice plug.
Yeah, I used to play a PvP hardcore Iron Man in the PvP worlds when I streamed. But like part of what I was doing was like, I'm going to do every quest without a guide. And it made a lot of quests way more fun. Like there's a lot of puzzles that like you have to they're real thinkers. You got to sit down and think and try to complete. And it was a lot of fun. Like Ernest the Chicken, there's a quest in the basement. There's a part in the basement where you need to, it's like a lever puzzle where you're opening and shutting doors, and there's 3 levers, or there's like 5 levers, and each one of them unlocks and locks specific combination of doors. And it was a lot of fun trying to figure out how to get to the place I needed to get by opening and closing these doors. So I had a lot of fun with that. Then again, there are quests like when I was doing A Kingdom Divided, which was, a lot of people praise it, but I guess my unpopular opinion is I wasn't a huge fan of it. It felt like it dragged on, and it was really boring for me.
My spacebar finger hurt for that
one. Yeah. Yeah, you broke your custom made mechanical keyboard spacebar.
God, yeah. I have to re-lube it after that one. Jesus.
But yeah, generally speaking, if you find questing boring, try to do one without a guide. You might enjoy it. Or you might hate it more.
Or you might hate it more. That's fairly I do like his note about the music, though. This game has great music.
There's one thing Jagex is super consistent with is its music tracks are like all really good.
One of the only reasons I don't do it, if you're like walking around in the early game doing quests, it's fun. But if you're just stuck in one area over and over again, it's just going to loop the same track or the same 2 tracks as you change areas.
Yeah, true.
So that's one of the reasons I prefer to just play music. Like if I'm just grinding raids or bosses or whatever, then I'd rather just listen to my own tunes. But yeah, when early game, I definitely love having the music and the sounds going for sure.
And one cool thing about that they kind of changed, and I haven't had too much experience with it, but they have like a dynamic music system where instead of it being one song in one area, they'll have like overlapping that you have a chance at 3 or 4 different music tracks. So it might go from one song to a different one. if you're just stuck in one different area, so it's not just looping for 10 minutes.
Get the mega rare song if you get really lucky.
But yeah, quite unpopular opinion. If you see anyone who's raging because the new quest help hasn't been updated since the new quest came out, I think we can agree about that. All right. Now that being said, again, guys, we do this question of the week. If you're listening to an older episode and you wanted to chime in about a previous question, you can still do that. I get notified about which one you're calling in about. So on episode 201, I said, what is a memory you have when you think of the wilderness, when you think of PvPing, whatever it is? And we got a call. So let's listen in.
Hey, I'm 2JZ Soup. I just wanted to say I'm loving the podcast. Really gets me through my work days. One of my favorite PvP memories was when I was out with some of my old schoolmates. And then, we were out PKing in some pretty rare gear and we managed to PK an Abyssal Whip. Man, that really made our day.
One thing I love about that story is it brings me back to the exact same story. When I was PKing with my boys, Demonic Shadows, shout out to my 2007 clan, Demonic Shadows. We went PKing, and by that hill giant area where in the wilderness, where it's like this, there's like a lava river and there's like an opening. We were, there was like 4 of us. We weren't really great PKers, but we bumped into this dude who had a whip and nothing else on them, and he was skulled. And we piled and we killed him. And he dropped the whip. He wasn't protecting it. And I remember we all just went crazy because this was it was worth like 2 mil. So that was gonna be like 500K each. And that was a lot of money back then. And I remember we just lost our minds that we actually PK'd a whip. Those feelings are good. And I think it's why, part of the reason why I love the wilderness so much, where you get these really intense feelings from certain things, whether you're trying to get out of the wilderness with a bunch of loot or you're killing someone and you want their loot. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one from 2J. Yeah, he was on my bingo team, so we had some late nights. Some good stories were shared in the bingo chat for sure.
Nice. Shout out to the Grand Tree Huggers.
Yep. No, that's good stuff, dude. Yeah, I love these messages. They're nice to hear.
Yeah, it's fun. But of course, we have committed to the song of the question of the week. So I've been slowly compiling different questions that kind of pop up as I just live life. But I'm going to ask you, do you have a question of the week that you want to toss out there before I jump into the list I have compiled?
What is your favorite old school RuneScape boss and why?
Ooh, that's good. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Oh man, there's so many angles. It could be about the loot. It could be about the fight itself, or it could be like the aesthetic, the actual lore.
What's yours, Stills?
So I off the top of my head, I'm going to say Zulrah. I don't actually enjoy the fight that much. I think the fight's okay, but I got this. I love the vibes of Zulrah. I love the location it's in. I love how you have this cult of people who worship this serpent. I got this picture. I've been slowly, when I got this new job, I told myself I was going to renovate my office and hang some new pictures up. I'm going to paint my whole office eventually, but I ended up going to get some displays, which, by the way, displays are pretty nice. They're pretty cool. I got hit with a lot of custom fees though, so be aware if you ever order from them. They're from Poland, so I got hit with like $70 in fees, which was kind of annoying. Yeah, I didn't, and then because you don't know you're gonna get hit with it until you get hit with it, and it's like we're gonna hold it until you pay. But anyways, I got this one picture, and it's this dude with maxed range, the max range cape, and he's sitting on this paddle boat, and he's just sitting in this swampy waters, and underneath the water is a giant serpent. It's Zulrah just swimming underneath the water. And you can see the guys leaning outside of his boat looking at this giant snake, this giant aquatic snake swimming through the swampy waters underneath his boat. And I saw that picture and I was like, fuck, that's so cool. I love the idea. When you add realism to some of these RuneScape bosses, it's man, really, people do these artworks for them. And you're like, makes me love this boss so much more. So that's the first one I think of because I just got this picture and I really loved this picture. It's by Volkaban. So if anyone wants to go look at that picture, you'll see it. It's really nice. What's yours?
I think solo DKs where you have to kill all 3 of them by yourself.
That's a good one too.
I think it's just very fun that you get to switch your gear. It's like entry level, so basically anyone can do it if you have okay gear. You have to get used to the timing. The loot's not bad. You get to get some rings. There's some pets in there.
Mm-hmm.
The journey down there is like kind of tough when you're early in the game. I don't know. I just have fond memories of DKs, and I've always enjoyed doing them. So
Yeah, if you're not really paying attention, you can get smacked as you're running to the boss, and you're like, shit, am I gonna have to chew through a bunch of food?
It's also not too long either. Like it can be like, I don't know, 10 hours to do a Cal Fight Queen task, but to do a DK's task, you can do it in 1 or 2 trips. So maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason I enjoy it too. It's kind of quick, and
That's a good one because it's a great group boss if you're a lower level, like maybe in the mid game, you can get with 3 or 4 or 5 of your friends and nothing wrong with killing it. It'll be a fun boss to kill. It's quite tough, but and soloing it as you're maxed is also a lot of fun. Yeah, it's quick as you mentioned. It can be decent money. And what I always liked about it was in the lore, you get a bunch of like Fremenic items. You get a Fremenic shield, Fremenic helmet, Fremenic sword. You get these the rings, of course. You get the Seer Call bow. You get all these items. But in the lore, those items are because a bunch of Fremenics have tried to kill these Dagonoth kings because they're like kind of at this war with these creatures, constantly trying to repel them away from Relica. And so these Dagonoth kings have just killed so many Fremenic soldiers that you find their items when you're killing them, which is kind of cool to think about too. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, what is your favorite old school RuneScape boss and why? I'm sure there's so many different angles you can hit. Okay, let's wrap up. We got some housekeeping to go through. Guys, of course, we have a trial sponsorship with none other than Manscaped themselves. If you want to get a Manscaped product, go to their website, type in the code word wilderness on checkout. You get like 20% off and free shipping. If you want to hang out with us in game, our clan is called Wild. Definitely join in. We have a lot of fun stuff going on there, and you can just guest as well if you're already in a clan, but you want to hang out and see what all the fuss is about. We have a Discord, which is discord.gg/thewilderness. Our email is TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. If you maybe don't want to call in, but you still want to write in and let us know, you can still send us emails. And I think that's it. We have a link in the description of this episode. It's a SpeakPipe link, which will bring you to the question of the week, which you can then hear me tell you what the question of the week is. But you can go back and leave a message for any past question, or you can just call in to like say whatever message you want. As you notice,
the show sucks.
You could be the show sucks. As you mentioned, every episode I feature one of the calls, and I'm banking every single caller. So if we ever go dry, we should have a few intro call-ins every single time. But you can call in and just hope to be the intro caller, just to say hello. And yeah. So, anything you want to plug, Heartless, before we get on out of here?
No, let's throw down for song of the week.
All right. What should we do? Should we do the Guardians of the Rift song?
Yeah, let's send it. People still recovering from the double song last week.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's funny. So the song of the week, of course, is Guardians of the Rift, which is unlocked during the Temple of the Eye quest after a cutscene showing you the minigame itself. It is composed by Stephen Lord. That's a cool last name, and this might be a first that I've seen a song composed by this fella. So, great stuff. Okay, I guess that's about it. And shit, I guess we'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.